The Detroit Pistons of the 80s were a unique cast of characters, a team of fiery personalities, and one cool customer, Joe Dumars. With greatness as well as grace, Joe helped lead the Pistons to the top. Along the way, he became one of the game's class acts. We'll look at Joe D this week on Vintage NBA.
Basketball has changed. It's always been a great game, but now it has a new spirit.
He dunks like Dr. J. He might be the new Iceman.
The modern day Wilt Chamberlain.
He looked like Magic Johnson.
The future has arrived.
You are watching what greatness is all about.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Vintage NBA. I'm Robin Roberts. On a team known as the Bad Boys, the ultimate good guy was Joe Dumars, and this week we'll have his story. For 14 seasons, Joe was a driving force for the Detroit Pistons and played a starring role on their two championship teams. Later in his career, Joe became a mentor to a new group of Pistons. One of them was a guard much like Dumars himself, a quiet star with a smooth jumper. He's Allen Houston, and he's gone on to become one of the leaders of the New York Knicks. This week, we turn the chair over to Allen.
Dumars with the rebound. Joe still with it. Spinning Michael to the hole. High glass. Goofy scores.
When I was in high school and in college, back in those years, I just remember the Pistons and Michael and the Bulls trying to get past Detroit and Joe.
Michael Jordan against Dumars.
And Joe being like the guy who could best guard Michael.
Jordan trying to go baseline on Dumars, having a little bit of trouble. That's more than a little. They have to give it up.
The Pistons were just a team that was going to refuse, to let anybody get in their way. Obviously, Isaiah had a tremendous role.
I like the answer.
But Joe, if not the backbone of that team, he was probably the most important guy to carry that team at that point.
Coming about baseline goes to Joe D. Freezes Jordan, spins inside, reverses, hits it off the high glass. Spectacular! Spectacular!
And with the 11th pick in the 1993 NBA draft, the Detroit Pistons select Allen Houston from the University of Tennessee.
And when I got to Detroit, my first impression of Joe was, in practice. Obviously, as a competitor, you're gonna make this young rookie work. It wasn't where he was, felt threatened by me. He was willing to help me, and he still did want me to get better. To me, that was a great impression just coming out of college.
I'm coming, Mark. Coming, Mark.
Learning from a guy like Joe, you're only gonna get better, and you're only gonna be more confident.
Joe deep, outside for Houston. On the left baseline, leading lefty, finger roll, filled it up.
He had this one thing where he would go between his legs, and he kind of hesitate. And once he hesitated, you didn't know if he was going to just go past you or just pull up and shoot it.
Dumars threads the needle, launches a three, and that's good.
That move, I try to do a little bit of it.
Give him an inch, and he'll take 2 points. Houston has 22.
That inch just helps, but, I can't really do it like him because he's so quick and getting to the basket.
Joe will take it baseline left. Here's the rainbow, and it goes!
It's one of those things where great players have moves that they're going to do, but there's nothing you can do about it.
Distance been tied. Dumars fires and fills it up. Oh, Dumars comes up big.
Joe was one of the guys, in the game who could, if he caught fire, he could just touch it, and it was going in. It would touch the last inch of the net. The ball just dropped straight down.
Topside Joe. 4-3.
It was just amazing to watch sometimes. I saw him hit like 10 threes in a row one time, and it was like, you gotta be kidding me.
Joe Dumars showing no signs of cooling.
Yes, Joe Dumars on a run.
Joe Dumars turning into a one-man show.
What stuck out with me with Joe is just how everything he did out there, he wanted not only to do well, but he wanted to perfect it.
Hits it! 2.4 to go! Joe Dumars strikes again!
Joe's a competitor, and even in the last years of his career, even when I had to play against him, I mean, it was still tough.
How about that shot for Joe D? He has 25.
I mean, to have that kind of impact for that many years is amazing to me.
This is a big-time Joe D game.
You can only hope to be that fortunate, and that's why, you know, he's special.
Allen says he learned a lot from Joe, not just about the game itself, but also how to lead by example. But Houston does have one regret. He'd heard that Dumars was one of the NBA's best tennis players, and he's still waiting for his chance to challenge him out on the tennis court. Now, of course, Joe wasn't too bad on the basketball court either, and we'll look back at his career in just a moment.
That's Joe Dumars. He doesn't say much.
I probably was a tough boy, you know, but I always felt that, you know, when it was time to go to battle and time to go to war, that I would be there. I just wasn't the type that was going to tell you a whole lot about it.
My name is Joe. I don't say much.
Joe prided himself on being an all-around player.
Here's Dumars.
You know, Joe lit everybody up that got close to him.
Freezes short, spins inside, reverses, hits it off the high glass. Spectacular!
Throughout his career, Joe Dumars excelled in his own modest way. He rarely dunked, didn't talk trash, and didn't try to show off. Joe said, "I always thought it was cool to do something and not turn somersaults." How refreshing. But make no mistake, he was one of the game's fiercest competitors, not to mention a great all-around player. And while Joe didn't like to talk about himself much, there were plenty of others who were happy to do it for him.
In my eyes, there should be more Joe Dumars out there, not only in sports, but just in life in general.
He is the heart of this ball club, showing it again tonight.
He's always been just Joe. He's always been there. He does his thing. He's very steady, and he's a winner.
He was class, you know, on and off the court. Came from a good family. He's just a solid guy.
You have to understand where I came from. Rural Louisiana, just as far away from here as you can get. A small town, just a bunch of little kids running around playing, and I know how far I've come to get here.
The Detroit Pistons select Joe Dumars of McNeese State.
Many fans had never even heard of the young man from Louisiana, but the Pistons knew exactly what they were getting.
We were very fortunate to get him because I had seen him early, and I thought, God, this guy would go great with Isaiah.
I'm looking forward to getting a chance to play with Isaiah. He's a great guard, and I think there's a lot that I can learn from him.
The nervous rookie will be guided by Isaiah. Before long, Thomas and Dumars had formed a potent backcourt tandem.
What a tandem they are. When they etch the final chapter, this tandem will go down with some of the best.
Being the youngest guy coming in, I had to kind of look and see what this team needed and try to fit in there.
When he came in as a rookie, you definitely saw that he had the skills to play. But, you know, Joe worked his way into the lineup. He was smart enough to realize that the only way that he would get on the court at that time was to play defense.
Swipe by Dumars. Trying to drive him. He does, and he hits it.
Magic again posting up. Great defensive play by Dumars. Jordan knocked away by Dumars. Great defense by Joe.
Assigned to guard some of the league's top scorers, Joe's tenacious defense was becoming his trademark.
Dumars, probably the best defensive player on this Detroit team.
As a team, we felt like night after night that we're tougher than you and we're going to beat you, and that's basically the bottom line.
With their bruising style, the Pistons were called the Bad Boys. But Dumars didn't seem to fit the role, at least not on the surface.
While we had the so-called image of the Bad Boys, Joe was the gentleman basketball player. But If he got his back up, he was as tough a guy as I've seen in the league.
Oh, my. There's some toughness.
He was quiet, but you wouldn't have been on the team if you weren't a bad boy.
That's Joe Dumars. He doesn't say much.
I probably was a tough boy, you know, but I always felt that, you know, when it was time to go to battle and time to go to war, that I would be there. I just wasn't the type that was going to tell you a whole lot about it.
My name is Joe. I don't say much.
But Joe would make a loud statement in the '89 finals as the Pistons faced a rematch against the Lakers. LA had won the previous year, but this time Detroit swept them 4 straight for their first NBA title. And the hero was Dumars, averaging 27 points to go with his usual stellar defense.
Inbound to Rivers. A three-corner block. Saved by Dumars. A great play by Dumars. Dumars does nothing but put the cap on a tremendous performance.
There's absolutely no feeling that I can even explain to you. The night we beat the Lakers, it's like an out-of-body experience. Like I stepped out and I could see everybody running around and jumping, and I could see myself out there. It was an absolutely awesome, awesome feeling.
Joe was named MVP of the finals, and the following year he helped lead Detroit past Portland for their 2nd consecutive championship. But for Dumars, the celebration was bittersweet. He had to play the final 2 games of the series with a heavy heart after receiving some tragic news.
I know a lot of you were probably expecting to see Joe, but you know, his father passed away this afternoon, and he didn't know anything about it. And you know, he made one shot today, going down the lane. The shot clock was running down, and he threw it real high in the air, and it went in. And we kind of looked at each other and smiled. And I said to myself, your dad threw that one in. So if you guys can say a prayer for him, or whatever faith or religion you are, just wish him good luck, because it's going to be a hard struggle.
I don't think you define yourself as a true professional only by your winning. I think you define yourself as a true professional by how you handle adversity. But if you're truly going to be someone who calls himself a champion, you have to persevere through those times, and that's what I did.
Detroit Pistons are once again the world champions of basketball.
The glory days soon began to fade as a new generation of Pistons arrived. And now Joe would emerge as an elder statesman, becoming a mentor for Grant Hill.
I talked to Grant a lot about different things that you need to win. I said, I've been that guy who had to go out and get 25, 30. You're that guy now.
You did great, Grant. I love your game, Grant. You're wonderful.
He's showed me the ropes on and off the court. He showed me really how to do things the right way.
But while his roles may have changed, Dumars remained the same. A player of quiet brilliance who earned admiration, even if he didn't earn many headlines.
Joe will never get the credit that other players will get because he never sought it. He never needed anybody to tell him how good he was, because inside, Joe knew how good he was.
In this day and age, it's pretty rare for a player to spend his entire career with the same team. But Joe Dumars spent all 14 seasons with Detroit. He said he had offers to sign with other teams, but he felt a loyalty to the Pistons. Joe says it's one quality he learned from his father, a truck driver for the same company in Louisiana for 34 years. Up next, a look at some others who were cut from the same mold as Dumars. But first, a look at some music that, well, might have made you cringe a little back in the 80s. Welcome back to Vintage NBA, everyone. When you talk about Joe Dumars, one of the first words that comes to mind is character. It's one of those terms everyone talks about, but what does it really mean? Well, if you look it up in the computer dictionary, it says, a person having traits or characteristics, reputation for moral excellence and strength. It sounds just like Dumars. You might also define Joe as the strong, silent type, and there have been a few others who fit that description as well. Let's see what we find searching the old net here. All right, Charlie Chaplin, Harpo Marx, Marcel Marceau. That's the silent type. I forgot to add the word strong. So here we go again. Let's try it one more time. One of the first names to pop up is another Joe D. Joe DiMaggio, the graceful and dignified Yankee Clipper, one of baseball's all-time greats. Strong and silent has been one of Hollywood's favorite types, going back to Gary Cooper, who played Lou Gehrig in Pride of the Yankees, and was also the town sheriff in High Noon. Now, speaking of westerns and lawmen, Pilgrim, no one ever messed with John Wayne. He certainly was strong and silent, too, as evidenced by the title of his 1952 film, The Quiet Man. And if you're looking for other athletes who fit the Dumars image, you can find them right in Joe's city of Detroit. For 21 seasons, Al Kaline was a steady, consistent right fielder for the Tigers. He got over 3,000 hits and was elected to the Hall of Fame. There was the unassuming Barry Sanders, star running back for the Lions. He shied away from the spotlight, but made plenty of noise on the field with his electrifying runs. They all had many of the same qualities that were embodied by Joe Dumars, qualities like leadership and character that are keys to success in the NBA.
I think a great test of character is that of the contemporary athlete. Who plays well, who plays hard, who forces his teammates to play with teamwork. And that seems to me an enormous definition of character.
I think what people forget is that players really emulate players. Okay, this is the way you do it, guys, when you're a young player. You're a good guy on the court. You don't get into trouble out of it. You can have a lot of success being an individual, flashy type of player. But at root, what you've got to do is win. You've got to make your teammates better. And I think that's the most important thing.
And while Joe Dumars taught his younger teammates a few things about winning, he also was teaching them about the internet, because Joe is a computer whiz. He frequently surfs the net and recently responded to some email questions at a live chat on NBA.com. Someone asked Joe what it was like guarding Michael Jordan. He said it was a tremendous challenge, but also a challenge I look forward to. It was such a battle with him night in and night out. Asked if any team today compares with his old Pistons team, Joe said New York might be the closest with their guard-oriented team. Plus, they've got some rough big men up front, just like we did. Asked what was his most memorable game, Joe said, Game 4 at the Forum in 1989, when we swept the Lakers in the finals. That was a night and a game that will stick with me forever. I'll tell you what, we'll relive that game in our Airwave archive when we come back. Stay with us. For the Detroit Pistons, it was a long climb from challengers to champions. First, they had to battle past the Celtics in the Eastern Conference. Then they had to overcome the other powerhouse of the 80s, the Lakers. But finally, in 1989, the Pistons stood on the brink of their first championship. They took a 3-0 lead on L.A. in the finals, and Game 4 would belong to Joe Dumars. In this week's Airwave Archive, we take you back to June 13th, 1989. Let's join Dick Stockton and Hubie Brown at the Great Western Forum.
The Lakers have come out to a 21-12 lead with just under 6 minutes to go in the first half. Magic Johnson can only cheer. The Pistons have won 6 in a row since they trailed the Bulls 2-1 in the Eastern Finals. And the Lakers have lost 3 straight after a 16-game winning streak, trying to reverse it all tonight. What's going on with the Pistons?
Well, I really like the way that Tony Campbell is setting a fine example of playing Joe Dumars off the dribble. They're almost cutting off the lane.
Dumars pass inside and nicely executed offense. L.A. has scored on 12 consecutive possessions. They're up by 7. Worthy, quick jumper. He's hot. 10 points for James.
He's on a roll right now. Anytime that you can shoot over Sally, Sally even got a piece of that one.
Cooper and Thomas up top. Dumars. They want to get those guards going, and Joe Dumars with his first field goal of the game.
Give Bill Laimbeer credit. He's freed him up with 2 excellent picks.
Worthy has hit 6 in a row now to add a gray hair to Chuck Daly's head. 25-16 L.A. Here's Dumars with a step on Campbell and is fouled and will shoot. That's the 13th foul against the Lakers.
Watch as Dumars comes off this pick. You'll see the catch. Tony Campbell gets bumped. Now watch this pass. He read Kareem on the double team right to Sally, and that's what you do. You slam it home.
Meanwhile, Tony Campbell has picked up his second personal foul. As you know, the Lakers are thin anyway at guard, and that could enhance David Rivers' first appearance of this game as Dumars hits the first.
See, I like Chuck Daly's strategy. There's David Rivers waiting for his shot here to get an opportunity. Chuck Daly, he saw that Dumars was having trouble off the dribble with Tony Campbell. Now he's going to picks for Joe to free him up. That's heads-up offensive coaching.
Well, Dumars misses his second free throw. And the lead is 8. As far as the forwards go, it's been no contest. The Lakers lead. But Detroit's been getting points from their backcourt. They're already in the penalty. Scott gets away from Isaiah Thomas, and he gets his first 2. Biggest lead of this first quarter for LA is 10 points. Trailed 3 games to nothing. Dumars trying to draw the foul does, and if it's Campbell, it'll be 3. Let's see, though. And it is 3 fouls on Tony Campbell, and he'll have to come out, and here is the rookie, David Rivers, from Notre Dame coming in. That's a tough break for the Lakers because Campbell, not only defensively, but he has been a scoring force for an unmanned team.
What will happen now is David Rivers will play Isaiah Thomas, and Cooper will move over and play Dumars. Now this will be an interesting matchup because then what we also have then is let's see if Detroit will play David Rivers. The other night when he came into the ball game, they laid off him and forced him to hit the outside shot.
You remember he took that last shot of the game, a 3-point attempt that Dumars blocked and kept in play to preserve the victory for the Pistons. 27-19. Rivers guarded by Thomas.
The Isaiah will really get up in there and force him to beat him off the dribble.
There's Rivers open at the foul line. And Rodman clears it. Dumars pushing it up now. Lambeer free, pops one from the corner. Rivers and Dumars collided. And here come the Lakers with a 2-on-1 break. It's Worthy. That's 7 in a row for James Worthy.
See, the Detroit bench wanted an offensive foul on Cooper when he ran into Rodman, but in this league, you do not get that call. That is in high school and college.
7 straight field goals and 14 points for James Worthy. Rivers is all over Isaiah Thomas. Green tipped it out of bounds, and 6 seconds for the Pistons to try a shot. L.A. off to the rebounding edge on Detroit.
Detroit, one of the top passing teams that we have in this league. Anytime you see a double team, they move the ball beautifully.
There's Vinnie Johnson, who scored 13 points in the fourth quarter, replacing Isaiah Thomas, who goes out having scored 4. Dumars, way off. And a 24-second violation will turn it over to L.A. The Pistons are complaining about that.
Well, I think the argument is that the ball hit the backboard, but did the ball hit the backboard area or part of the rim before the shot clock went off? That's the other side of the argument.
It did not touch the rim. It's Detroit ball.
See, the ball was short that time, and Rodman got the ball. But, look, they just changed it, made the call.
Must have been off of the glass.
From that angle, it was difficult to see whether it caught it or not.
And the call on offensive foul away from the ball against Dennis Rodman, I believe, and that'll be 2 on Rodman. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar goes to the bench and is replaced by Michael Thompson.
When you're Dennis Rodman, you cannot be the leading rebounder throughout the playoffs unless you want to sacrifice your body, and he gets it on his man as quick as possible.
Thompson played a tremendous effort game in game number 3 off the bench. Rivers misses. Lambeer outlet. Dumars. But Rivers has to take that open shot.
Oh, they'll challenge him, but you know he's a proven college scorer. They'll make him take his shot, but he is a good shooter.
Rodman is down, and his back is hurting him.
Yes, he is, right here, right in front of us.
He takes the shot and hits the shot, but he is holding onto his back. As you know, he has back spasms and is in obvious pain. Stays in it, though.
He says it's like putting a screwdriver into your back and then screwing it if the muscles get tight.
Technical foul has been called against Chuck Daly by Earl Strom, and Rodman's going to have to come out of the game.
If Rodman comes out, Dick, this is a major loss. He is the prime-time rebounder.
All right, if you're wondering what Magic Johnson was doing on the bench, both he and Byron Scott were sidelined with hamstring injuries, which is why the Lakers had rookie David Rivers at point guard. Another interesting note, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar had already announced this would be his final season. He hoped to go out with a championship, but Joe Dumars and the Pistons have other plans. And we'll return to Game 4 right after you try to answer this question about the year 1989, and no, you don't get any lifeline. In 1989, the Lakers were going for a three-peat, but the Pistons were on a mission of their own. In their 40-year history, the franchise had never won an NBA title. Now they had a chance to sweep LA, the team of the 80s, on their home court. But the Lakers aren't about to go quietly. They lead it by 6 at the half as we return to Game 4 of the '89 Finals.
And we're getting set for the second half.
Going here. Let's see if they try to get Isaiah off.
Isaiah guarded by Cooper. Laimbeer fires a three and hits Bill Laimbeer with a three-point basket. That's his second of the game, and it brings the Pistons to within 3. A shocking first shot to start this second half. Tony Campbell with 3 fouls starting in the backcourt with Cooper. Up front, it's Kareem Abdul-Jabbar with Worthy and Green. Usual Pistons starters with Aguirre and Mahorn and Laimbeer, Dumars and Thomas, and a three-point basket answered by James Worthy, who has 24 points.
To see him have the half that he had and then come out in his very first shot is another three is just amazing.
Laimbeer. Mahorn with the rebound, and he's fouled going in. Rick Mahorn. Had a bad back last year in the finals, and Rodman's had a bad back this time, but he is sitting comfortably, getting set for his call as Kareem commits his first personal foul. Mahorn hits the free throw. There's Magic Johnson, not suited up tonight, and Byron Scott, who's been in civilian clothes throughout the series. He hurt a hamstring prior to game number 1, and Magic came up lame in game number 2. There's the foul trouble. Campbell, Woolridge, and Rivers of the Lakers with 3. Edwards and Mahorn of the Pistons, all with 3. Thomas tried for the steal, and instead is a Detroit foul. And Laimbeer gets called for it. That'll be his first.
Well, I think Chuck Daly, he was definitely right on the money. He's disappointed in his early first quarter defense, but he knows that the ball club accepted the challenge, came right back, give them what they're famous for, hard-nosed, limit you to 1 shot, and then also force you into bad shots.
It's a very big quarter for the Lakers. Michael Cooper misses the shot long range. Laimbeer the rebound. They had a 16-point lead that had been cut down to 3. Now it's 4, but the Pistons have been coming on in this one.
You can't beat Detroit over 48 minutes from outside.
Battle for the loose ball. Mahorn lays it in.
How about that? Isaiah Thomas over the back of Kareem kept that one alive, which enabled Mahorn to get the score.
Meanwhile, Kareem has scored only 3 points in this game. He had 24 in the last one. When you talk about inside scoring, that's where the Lakers need something. Cooper sets for the 3. Campbell throws it into the hands of Thomas. It's a 4-on-2 break for the Pistons. And it's blocked. Great play by Worthy on the layup attempt by Joe Dumars.
James Worthy timed that perfectly that time. He did not go for the block until Dumars released the ball. He was right there.
58-56. The Pistons have never had the lead in this game. 9:45 remaining in the third. Dumars, fall away. And the basket counts and a foul. Again, they defensed him as good as you could want, and he scored anyway.
Watch as he comes off this dribble. You'll see Tony Campbell right now. Watch how he elevates. There's the bump, and then he moves out. See, the good offensive players will initiate the contact with their left shoulder, then fade out because of their jumping ability and strength, and go for that shot.
And Dumars can give Detroit its first lead of the game. He has been on the free throw line 14 times already tonight. And he's got it, and the Pistons lead at 59-58. And if the big loss for the Lakers is Byron Scott, because his defense against the point guard and their penetration, maybe the biggest thing LA misses in this series.
I agree with that, Dick. And then also the three-point shooting of Magic Johnson along with Byron Scott.
Kareem trying to get underway, hacking at the ball, and getting it away is Isaiah Thomas.
They're tenacious right now defensively.
Feed inside Mahorn. And Mahorn scores, and the Pistons are on a roll now, leading by 3.
They need a timeout, Dick. Get themselves organized.
And Pat Riley will call a timeout as the Pistons lead at 61-58. Let's see how the Lakers answer a 7-point run by the Pistons. James Worthy, who's playing big tonight now with 26.
He's the only Laker in double figures, Dick. They're straining. They're looking around for help for him.
That matches his point total in Game 3 and a foot block and a new 24-second clock for Detroit. Dumars with 19 is the Pistons' high scorer, with Vinnie Johnson second with 10. Isaiah Thomas has 5. Tony Campbell playing with 4 fouls. Dumars goes right around him, but the shot is blocked by A.C. Green. That's what the Lakers need to do when the guards penetrate. They have to close in fast. They did there.
Well, Tony Campbell must lay off him a little bit or he's going to get in foul trouble again.
Kareem. Still struggling offensively.
Look out.
Thomas feeding Lancier, lays it in, foul as well as the basket. And the Pistons lead now 63-60 and a chance to add another.
So the Pistons are starting to make their run with Joe Dumars providing a big spark. This was Joe's 4th year in the league, and he was a rising star. Problem was, not many people knew it outside of Detroit, as Joe was overshadowed by his more flamboyant teammates like Isaiah Thomas, Bill Laimbeer, and Dennis Rodman. But in this series, Dumars announced to the world that he had arrived.
I'm going to Disney World!
In the finals, people really had a chance to see how good a basketball team we were and how good a player he was.
Here's the ball to Dumars at the mouth of the key. He shoots it over Worthy. High out shot is good. Oh!
We were trying to take something away from them that they had. They knew that we were a young team, kind of nipping at their heels. Over the years, it just really built up into a great rivalry.
The Lakers and Pistons battled through 7 games in the 1988 finals as L.A. came away with the title. But in 1989, it was Detroit's turn, and this time they left no room for doubt. As we return to Game 4, the Pistons are closing in on the sweep and the championship, taking a 6-point lead into the final minutes.
It's a lot quieter in downtown Los Angeles, and certainly here at the Forum, where the Lakers are 3 minutes and 23 seconds away from being swept by a defensive team that we have not seen in memory. We were talking about some of the great defensive aggregations in NBA history, and I don't think we've seen a better one, and also 323 from the end of one of the great long careers in NBA history, 20 years of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Thomas double team, stepped on the line, turns it over.
That's one of the few turnovers that the half-court trap has provided for the Lakers in the last 2 ball games.
Lakers have shot just 29% from the field in this fourth quarter. Pistons 80%. Fourth quarter has been theirs. 6 on the clock. Kareem. Sky hook. Hasn't gone for him tonight. And the Lakers have missed it. 100-94. Detroit will use the clock here.
Well, they're exclusively in the trap now. Now, you see Detroit smart. They're just backing it out, take their time, move the basketball, and force the mismatch when they go man.
Misses the rebound by Green. Plenty of time remaining, but the Lakers have to do it offensively here. Thompson at the block. And it's taken by Dumars. And it was Mahorn who got the block.
That's the Pistons at their best. Great transition defense, everyone rotating and challenging the shot.
LA has scored only 16 points in this fourth quarter. Thomas missed the three. They're all over Kareem, and they get the ball back. Mahorn. Under 2 minutes to go, and the Lakers seem to have given it all they had under the circumstances. James Edwards. Rebound Green. But can they get anything against this great Detroit defense? That's the question.
Well, they have plenty of time. You have 1 minute and 44 seconds, and you're only down 6. You have the basketball, but you must make it happen now by getting your key guys the basketball where they can get a high percentage shot.
Joe Dumars, again the leader for the Pistons with 21 points. Kareem goes in and gets the shot, and it's a 4-point game, 100-96 with 1:37 to go. There, the Lakers had a chance to win games 2 and 3 of this series, and they've got a chance again.
The Lakers have put in Jeff Lamp now to give them another perimeter shooter.
9 on the shot clock. Here's Dumars, goes up. But Sally gets the loose ball.
Once again, that great quickness, once again, getting to the loose balls.
And they got a new clock, and they'll get it under a minute now. Dumars from the corner hits. 23 points for Joe Dumars, who has led the parade of the 3 guards against the Lakers. 1 minute to play. 102-96 Detroit.
They're trying to go to Worthy. Detroit took that option away.
Lamp goes into Kareem. Back to Lamp. Foul on Rick Mahorn. And the camera went down, and Mahorn gingerly collects it. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. 47 seconds left in this game, and his team trailing. Mahorn has fouled out of the game, and Lambeer will replace him. And Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is going out, and there's the hand. One free throw by Lamp. 102-97. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar on the bench. 20 great years. Shot clock shows 10. Lambeer from the corner bangs one. And the Pistons are up by 7, 104-97. It's their biggest lead of the game, and the Lakers call timeout.
Come on, baby. 28 seconds.
LA has won 5 titles in the 80s. The champagne is ready in the Detroit dressing room. Detroit lost 60 or more games in the first 2 years of this decade, but they have inched closer each year. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar in the game. He's come back in. Cooper misses a 3. Thomas with 20 seconds to go and a foul against Lamp.
Go down. No, it ain't like that, is it? Bad boy.
Chuck Daly spent 8 years at Punxsutawney High School in Pennsylvania and almost got into another profession because he couldn't get it in the college job. That's it for Kareem now. That's it. He's out. Thomas on the free throw line with 19 seconds to go. Crowd chants now Kareem's name. James Worthy will go out. 40 points for Worthy. Michael Cooper also exits. A.C. Green fires it. Edwards clears. Last year, the Pistons had a 3-2 lead, but couldn't win one of the last two. Now they'll do it. World champs. Joe Dumars is the MVP of the 1989 finals.
And here inside the Pistons locker room, a victorious team that battled all the way to a 7th game last year before losing. And this year, they have done it 4 in a row. Joe, I've got a moment to get you over here. And just such a solid, gutty performance on your part. Congratulations.
Thanks a lot. We worked hard for it. That was our purpose coming into this season. From day one, we wanted to get here, and here we are.
And Detroit would get another chance to celebrate the following year when they defeated Portland for their 2nd consecutive title. As for Joe Dumars, he continued to shine for the Pistons through good times and bad until he retired from the NBA in 1999. Even then, Joe couldn't seem to have the stage to himself. That's because he just happened to retire in the same year as Wayne Gretzky, John Elway, and Michael Jordan. We'll have more on Dumars and his legacy when we return in just a moment. Joe Dumars played in 6 NBA All-Star games, was a 4-time selection to the All-Defensive team, and won 2 championship rings. Yet, in spite of all that, he never seemed to grab the spotlight, which was fine with Joe. He preferred to let his game do the talking, and there have been some other NBA stars who were the same way. Walt Frazier personified cool during his days as a floor leader of the New York Knicks. Clyde always had a poker-faced demeanor, and that was by design. He said he never wanted his opponents to know what he was thinking. John Havlicek didn't show much emotion either, but he was one of the game's fiercest competitors and hardest workers. Hondo quietly went about the business of running opponents into the ground and helping the Celtics win 8 NBA titles. Before Dumars got to the Pistons, Bob Lanier was their leader in the 70s, and Bob led by example, not only with his great play, but also his solid work ethic and the way he stoically played through a series of injuries. The Cleveland Cavaliers of the 80s and early 90s were a team of quiet excellence, symbolized by their 2 leaders, Mark Price and Brad Daugherty. Price, the Cavs' point guard, was one of the game's deadliest shooters, while Daugherty was a 5-time All-Star at the center position. Then there was hardworking and humble Buck Williams, one of the most respected players of his time. Buck led the Trailblazers to 2 NBA Finals in the early 90s. And today there are some others who carry on the Dumars tradition.
I think Nick Anderson just plays like him a little bit. The way he likes to set up and shoot threes. And he also, can go to the bucket, and I think that's similar to Joe Dumars.
There are an awful lot of nice kids in our league today, an awful lot. I'll use the Lakers as an example. We have the nicest group of kids here that I've ever seen.
I think I would have to say Glenn Rice. Glenn Rice, he's very quiet, and he just get the job done.
Hersey Hawkins, and the way he plays and the way he conducts himself.
Maybe I'm being a little biased, but I'd say Dave Robinson. I think he handles himself with a lot of class. I really think that a lot of younger players could learn from his example. A lot of great players, and they're going to be carrying the torch, but I think every once in a while they have to look at some of their elders and learn from that.
If you'd like to share some of your thoughts on Joe Dumars, just send us an email at NBA.com. You'll find us in the history section on the Vintage NBA page. You'll also find a profile of the '89 Pistons, who were named one of the top 10 teams in NBA history. We'll be back with more right after this. Today, Joe Dumars continues to leave his imprint on the Pistons as their player personnel director. And the team saluted him during the 2000 season by retiring his number 4 jersey. The NBA also honored Joe, announcing that the league's sportsmanship award will be called the Joe Dumars Trophy. A fitting tribute for a player who not only achieved basketball greatness, but did it with dignity and a lot of class. That's our show for this week. Thanks for joining us, everyone. I'm Robin Roberts, and we'll look for you again next time. Till then, take care.